When generally we get into any kind of discussion related to software testing, most of the time we come across some of the terminology, some of the standard words which might be a little complicated for us. And similar thing is about when it comes to functional and non-functional testing. Now, many people, when they talk about such things, they say that I'm into functional testing. Some people say I'm into non-functional testing. And that's what is very important for anyone to understand how functional and non-functional are different. So let's talk a little more about that today. Hello friends and greetings for the day. Welcome back to another episode of Testing in a Nutshell. This is Neeraj Kumar Singh and today we are talking about functional and non-functional testing. The very important concept when it comes to different levels of testing, which you call it as unit, integration, system, and many more other like security, performance, recovery, reliability, and many such things. Now, of course, you do know that these things are different from each other. But did you also know that these all levels of testing, which might be 100 plus possible levels, which we have in testing, might be into different categories? That means these levels are categorized into two segments. One is functional and second is non-functional. And today we will be trying to understand how functional is different from non-functional, or how to define a particular definition for these two terminologies or these two categories of levels of testing, instead of giving examples like unit is functional, performance is non-functional. So let's talk a little more in detail with respect to that. When it comes to functional basically defines the basic functionality or basic feature, what an application must do in order to meet the expectation of the basic features of an application. And testing that is what you call it as functional testing. Now, when you talk about a simple application which has a login page or probably a registration function and has different UI aspects, and that just needs to be ready and make sure that this is working and it is meeting the expectation of the requirements, is what you call it as functionality. So when you talk about login page or such registration page, or just even if you talk about an e-commerce website and you see the products on the page, so that is what you call it as a functional level of testing. That means it simply states that what the product is supposed to do, if it is doing that, we call those levels as functional testing. And in simple terms, so the different levels which can be covered under functional testing are unit, integration, system, acceptance. To some extent, even if we have some sub-levels like component integration testing, system integration testing, these levels are also functional because they do not go beyond what a product must do. And it talks right from the basic features of the application. On the other side, when we talk about the non-functional testing, it is to enhance the basic features of the product. Now, when we say enhancement, what does that mean? It means that now the product is functionally ready. Probably when you talk about system testing, your product is now ready for use, but limited to a particular environment, particular user, and maybe particular browser or any such scenarios. But what if I have a requirement, being a customer, that this product must be accessible to 100% of users. Now, what is my 100%? It can be anything. It can be 500, 10,000, 50,000, maybe 100 million as well. Now, that's what is more important. Now, what if I have to make application like Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, where a lot of people are accessible or logged in or accessing it at the same time, that is simultaneously. So I have to enhance this product. Instead of one user being working on it at any point of time, I have to make it stable for 10,000 users. Now that's what you call it as a performance testing. Similarly, what if my data is secure over the networks? Now somebody is trying to do some private data on that network and somebody is trying to hack that, then how I have to prevent it to happen, and that's called security testing. Similarly, we do have a lot of other non-functional testing which may go on talk about that. And that's where non-functional is defined as that this level or these level of testing is to determine how the system behaves. So functional is what the system does and non-functional is how the system behaves. So what and how is different. What is the basic thing which it needs to do? Without that, the system is not at all a system. Enhancements are called as how it depends. Like somebody is trying to work, if 100 users are working, it is fine, but 1000 users are working, it is crashing. So that's where non-functional features comes into that. And thus, we have different levels of non-functional. Also to add, the non-functional testing or non-functional features are also referred to quality characteristics of the application. Now, when you say quality characteristics, it means that the most important characteristic will be defined by the non-functional features of an application. That means the quality is basically attained by such non-functional parameters like security, recovery, interoperability, accessibility, usability, and many such related things, including security and all. So that non-functional features are actually the quality attributes of an application. And that adds more value and enhancement to a product to sustain in the market. That's where non-functional testing becomes very important to be done and requires more technical knowledge. That means the backend and the structure of the code, all these requirements to be there with the non-functional testers in order to conduct that. So putting it all together, when it comes to functional, it's the basic feature functionality testing, core functionalities that what a system must do, it is up to the mark or not. And when it comes to non-functional, it is more about how the system behaves, to test how exactly it is behaving. In other terms, you can say that it is basically to enhance the existing feature of an application or basic functionalities of an application and add more value or quality attributes to it. That's the reason if you come to advanced level of ISTQB certifications, the names are slightly different. A lead of functional testing team is called as test analyst, whereas a lead of non-functional team is called as technical test analyst, because the non-functional testing requires more and more technical knowledge compared to the functional testing team. Now that was a clear difference between functional and non-functional team. I hope really that was interesting to you and you had good takeaways from this particular session. So stay tuned for more videos from the channel and we will be getting back to you with more interesting facts about testing and knowledge to share with all of you. Till then, keep learning, keep exploring, keep understanding the context. In case you have any questions, feel free to drop below. I'll be there to address your queries and answer them well. Thanks for watching the video team and happy learning.